Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC comic review. And in this DC comic review I will be reviewing Deathstroke Inc. issue 3. And of course Batman Detective Comics issue 1045 or 1045. I will let you know ahead of time that I will not be reviewing the backstory, even though the backstory was quite interesting if you personally want to check it out. So now I'll jump onto the first comic that I'll be reviewing for the channel. And the first comic that I'll be reviewing in this, or out of these two, will be Deathstroke Inc. So starting off with first things first. As you know, there are things that I like to set my ratings on. Starting off with, well, the cover. Does this cover, in any way, shape or form, connect to something that is happening inside of the story? Surprisingly, it does, and I gave the cover a 7.5 out of 10. So thank you, Joshua Williamson, for a story-accurate comic cover. I'll now move into the internal art, which we'll get to see some art around the beginning, middle and end. And we might even get to see some of the characters that make an appearance in it. So we start off here with Black Canary, along with Deathstroke, meeting up with, guess who, the Queen of Fables. And as you can see here, it looks like quite a number of people have got their ass kicked. And lo and behold, someone ends up in the land of fables. As we jump towards the middle of the story, we actually get the appearance of the Trust headquarters, to which Black Canary is also working at, along with Deathstroke. And it's good to see the editor, along with Joshua Williamson, is also doing their job in regards to letting us know if there's anything or any important information in the previous issues. I'll now jump towards the end. And as we can see here, you see that Joshua Williamson has brought back Oracle into this as she's talking to Black Canary, and we can see Oracle is also talking with, guess who, or is with you know who, Dick Grayson. Not the best of images of Dick Grayson. I'll bloody give it that. And this eventually leads to Black Canary, who looks like they might end up having a fight with Deathstroke in the next issue. So for the internal art, I enjoyed it enough that I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time for the story. I must admit, I feel this story sort of lacked a little bit. It could have included some additional things to make it a little bit more easier for the reader to understand, such as pointing out that yes, Deathstroke was in the land of fables, but you could also point it out that he was in a certain area in the land of fables. So moving into first things first, did we get any comic references? Yes, we did, and it was an indication to read the previous issue. So Deathstroke Inc. issue 2. Moving into the area of time, none of that was actually used, though it would not hurt to see it in storytelling again. And that goes for practically anyone who even writes any comic story. It would be nice to see like more time references, such as what time throughout the day a certain event might be taking place, whether it's 9 a.m, 10 a.m, or even 5 p.m. in the afternoon. it wouldn't hurt to see that. Moving into the locations, we of course got the location of somewhat a dungeon of sorts that it felt like, but it wasn't pointed out as to where they were. That was just at the beginning. We did get the Trust HQ, but we also got the Land of Fables, which wasn't fully fleshed out in like pointing out whereabouts Deathstroke had landed in the location of the Land of Fables. It wouldn't have hurt to include it, but it did actually affect the score. The cast of characters consisting of Deathstroke, the Queen of Fables, who we saw at the beginning there, Black Canary, Cheetah, who you do get to see in the story, Oracle, and last but not least, Dick Grayson. Apart from that, I gave this story an overall 6.5 out of 10. I'll now move into the Detective Comics Batman 1045. So now it's time to jump into the latest issue of Detective Comics 1045, which covers the Fear State. So moving into the first thing that I like to rate, and that is the cover. Does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to anything that is happening inside of the story? Sure enough, it does. And as you can see here, we've got Batman up against a huge vile spawn somewhat monster, and what happens here also plays a part in what Nakano plans on using next. Just a hint. So for this cover art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I'll now show some of the internal art and then give its rating. And as we jump right into the art around the beginning, we have Batman saving Mayor Nakano, who ended up slightly getting infected by Vile. And as you can see there, we've got Barbara Gordon communicating with him. And of course, Vile's beast starting to claw its way out of the sewers. I'll now move to some art around the middle of the story. And this is some of the art around the middle of the story. As you can see, it's still giving off that dark feel. It is really nice to see a lot of Batman being used in this, even though we still do get the rare appearance of the side characters of the Bat family who are also helping out, but also away from Batman where he is. Now to the art towards the end. This happens after all is said and done, after Batman saving Nakano. But Nakano himself has some other ideas up his sleeve. For the internal art, I felt it really worked with the story, to which I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump into the story and its rating. Starting off with first things first, did we get any comic references? No, we didn't. It probably wouldn't have hurted to included it in the story, but did it affect the story rating? Not a lot. Next thing is time. Did we get any indication of what time that this was taking place throughout the day? Not really. Did it affect the story rating? Not a lot. Moving into the next thing, location. We of course got the location of Gotham City, to which all things Batman seems to happen in. And of course we had the Gotham City sewers. The cast of characters consisting of Batman, Mayor Nakano, Barbara Gordon, who was dressed as Batgirl but also played the role as Oracle. And we also had Cassandra Cain, we also had Nightwing, Batwoman, and we also had appearance of Vile. Overall, I gave this story a 7 out of 10. Now until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.